Okay. No, I didn't realize the time.
Well, so much for my don't shout before the show. No disruptions, right? Welcome, everybody. Good to see you all.
Hey, Mick. So I see. I didn't say one word. At least I kept to the rules.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for joining us this week. We're gonna have a little bit of fun this week. We wanted to be a little bit edgy. And I apologize in advance if we offend anybody, but hopefully you'll look through our humor and bonhomie and try and get a couple of nuggets that you can work with this week. So let me just show the topic which you saw in the opening credit. So our topic is, which came first? You know, the old chicken and egg conundrum. Did the salesperson come first, or did the sales pipeline come first? So yeah, let's have a little chat about that first of all, Andre.
Yeah, I mean, you know, and Mick, there's this sort of way of looking at our pipeline and thinking about, you know, how our salespeople, you know, perform within that pipeline. And I think there's you know, today really what I'm finding very exciting about today is yes, there is a bit of a conundrum. What really comes first, you know, is or the other way to look at it is what should come first. And I think, you know, when we, you know, as we go down this sort of rabbit hole, I think eventually we'll start seeing that there are ways of dealing with this problem slightly differently.
So for you, those of you watching, there is an exit from the Warren at the end. We will get somewhere, but we might just go a little bit topsy and turvy to begin with, because it is a convoluted, multifaceted challenge. And you know, we know today. I mean, we work with a lot of you guys, and you're all dealing with, you know, trying to bolster your pipelines, build your backlog back up, get new business in. And so the question is, Andre, where today do we think most of the business comes? If you're a commercial flooring business, what have we seen? Where does most of that business come from?
I mean, Mick, we've done this research now. I mean, and it's I think it's virtually, you know, it's virtually a rule. You know, at least 80% of our business is existing customers.
Whoa!
So you know this, and I mean, and that was
just me adding a bit of drama to the show.
Right. Okay, you know that. Well, we all know that, so there's no woe attached to it. You know what I mean? In fact, you know, if you have an 80-20 rule, if 20% of your business does come from new business, you actually sort of more or less run the best of breed. You know, in many of our you know, commercial flooring companies, it's even greater than 80%. And I mean, not that it's a bad thing, you know. So here's the gig. Is that a bad thing? It's not. The comment is not about whether it's a bad thing or not. Remember, we're talking about the chicken and the egg here, you know. So, you know, it is the reason why 80% of our sales revenue comes from, you know, existing business. Is that because of the salesperson? Or is it because of some other reason?
Right.
Is it because of the relationship? Because normally there's a connection, right? So the connectivity between the salesperson and the relationship that the salesperson creates is the reason why we get revenue. Isn't that right?
Yeah, and everybody tells us this is a relationship business, Mick, Andre. You know, we've had a difficult year because we haven't been able to get in front of people. We're very relationship centric. So yeah, it is a relationship business. But where does the relationship equity get built? That's the question.
Right.
Does it get built before we do the job, and the salesperson's out there building trust and you know, talking to their prospects, or does it come when we're actually problem solving and we're deep in a project and the client sees what we do from an execution perspective and they see, hey, we trust these guys. they're much better than our other subcontractors. They show up on time, they say what they're going to do, and they solve problems. I like these guys, and the relationship forms that way.
Exactly right. So really, the end of the day, yes, there is obviously some connectivity between the salesperson and possibly the first sale, but the second sale and the third sale and that ongoing existing customer business is because we know how to execute, and really that ongoing revenue is because we execute well. You can have the greatest relationship in the world, and if you don't know how to execute properly, that relationship will not have a long life. There's no doubt. I mean, isn't that the fact, right?
Yeah, true. And so it asks the question: Do we actually need salespeople?
Well, you know what, Mick? In the main, we don't have salespeople. We say we have, but in the main, we don't. We have very reasonably good, consistent deployment in the field. Most of us, if you look at the StarNet, the Fuse, most of our constituents, they know how to do what they do. They're very good at their craft.
Yeah.
And as a result, there creates that trust relationship because we do the right thing.
And if we look at, I mean, we've shown this before on other shows. Where does a commercial salesperson spend their time? We've done this across many flooring companies, and I just want to point out that little green segment at the top. 6% is what we call sales prospecting. That is going out trying to find new business. And why is it only 6%? Well, because they're having to tend to the delivery, to the program management, to the project management, to the material handling, to the logistics, to the service issues. So the role of a commercial salesperson is very rich in lots of different, capabilities, and that's how they build their credibility, is in many of these different components.
Yeah, and Mick, the thing is, so really, if 6% of your activity is selling, are you a salesperson? So okay, that's set aside. And really, this is not against selling. This is not against salespeople or any comment around that. But really, the reality is that so what we try and do is now that we're sort of illuminating, and this has only been in recent times. I mean, Mick, how many times do we do the survey and we show the executive or the owner, this is the amount of time your people are spending selling. And every time, you get that sort of shock horror, I like, or I don't believe it, or whatever the case may be. You know what I mean? And then as a result, usually what happens is, management decides it's time to step in. We're going to save the day here, aren't they?
Exactly right. If you look at that picture, any sane, logical, strategic thinking executives is going to go, I need the green segment to be bigger. I want my salespeople to be, prospecting for more work. So actually, we take away, some of that stuff, so that the salesperson could be more effective, right?
Correct. And that's, as you said, a very logical approach to this. All right. And so the response that management now goes and says, what do they do?
Yeah, we're gonna. Hey, I know what we can do. Salespeople do a lot of admin work. Maybe we can give them an assistant to do some of that busy work, they call it. But of course, the work doesn't go away, does it?
Right. So now
we've just pushed it around the organization away from the salesperson. And the other thing that we've seen is that they'll take some of those operational functions that the salesperson is currently doing and give them to somebody like a installation or field manager, so that the goal is, now we've freed up all this sales time, they're going to go sell, right?
Right. That's the belief that because we've got more time, we should get more of those new customers that now can be transformed into existing customers, because we know the value of an existing customer. We know how valuable that customer is. A good existing customer is what our business is built on. So in theory, we're going to get some more of that. Isn't that right? Okay.
Yeah. But the reality is a little different, isn't it?
Yeah, unfortunately, the reality is very, very different.
And you described this really well, Andre. So I'm gonna let you wax on this one, because let's have a bit of a reality check as to what really we often see. What happens.
Right. So the first thing that happens is, number one, the salesperson has a great deal of difficulty letting go. That's the first thing that happens. So we add the resource, right? We add the capability, but that capability, the first sort of period of time, that capability is pretty much idle. That's the first thing that happens, right? And then over time, there becomes a little bit more trust, and the salesperson starts releasing some of their, let's call it their workload, all right, the busy work, okay,
right?
And then suddenly the salesperson now has more time. And what we've done is we've just said, as long as you have more time, you're going to be able to spend more time selling and prospecting, right? But the salesperson's not equipped to know how to prospect and how to, go and identify the good new customers. So what do? The very favorite thing.
I did a review the other day. They probably had a dozen salespeople in this flooring organization, and I asked them, how do you get new leads? How do you get new prospects? And to a person, they said, we go to the bid board. I mean, so they're a bid house, and they did relatively well, but in this market where everybody's trying to grab business, there is a little bit of a feeding frenzy, and so people are experiencing this pinch, on the margin. So whilst it can generate work, as we'll talk about it generates its own challenges.
Correct. And then, Mick, the next thing that happened is that these assistants that we now give to our salespeople. And what we notice with many of our customers and non-customers, for that matter, is they want to find a way to pay for that additional resource. So what do they try and do? They try and share some of the money that the salesperson gets from his commission, right, to pay for that resource. Okay. So now
we call it the load.
Right.
Right.
So now what happens is the salesperson also realizes, okay, potentially I may make less money. So now there's two forms of pressure that's coming on the side. I've got all this more time. I don't know what the hell to do this time, right? So what I do is I now go and all of this sort of accumulates without us really knowing. It's happening behind the scenes. All of this accumulates. I go to the bid board and I just go and create more bids. So, when I create more bids, right, and normally it's dysfunctional bidding. It's, I'm not that selective anymore. I spend a lot of time sending stuff to the guys down in estimating or pre-construction. I start shipping stuff there, and I let them be the filter mechanism.
It's like going to Vegas and spinning the roulette wheel and just throwing your money at it. The house always wins.
Exactly.
The people who are winning are the GCs because they've got all this people swarming, helping them do their business, and your costs are just going up and up and up.
Correct. And it was actually quite interesting. And we were on. We were on, one of Mick's has this with a couple of customers where, we talk about sales tips. And, one of the salespeople who I really have a lot of respect for, said, if you think about it, every bid costs and I think he's physically done some form of calculation, which we haven't done. In fact, it's a great idea for us is to try and really determine. But he says somewhere between $500 and $1,000. So that's the cost of the bid. All right. So if you think about it, every bid costs a certain amount of money. So how you go about?
So Grant's in Vegas for the Surfaces show. He said it's just like roulette.
Oh, nice.
Hey, if you didn't see the earlier show with Grant on it, you've got to go back into the archives. You can find it on the YouTube channel under Mick Holly or in my LinkedIn feed. And Grant came up with some really good nuggets. Okay, he's on the roulette table now, so that's all good news. Good.
And I must say, Mick, Grant is definitely one of those thought leaders. And I mean, a lot of the stuff that comes from these thought leaders. So it's not, we're not the clever guys. There are some real good thought leaders out there. And Grant is definitely one of those. So
just share a secret with the viewers here. When Andre and I aren't really very clever, we just happen to have worked with 60 different flooring companies, and we've picked the brains of the brightest. We've also seen, what doesn't work, and we can help you shortcut all of that. So actually, no, Andre's clever. I'm just a comedian.
Grant's clever. Yeah. Andre
clever.
just listens to Grant, right?
Yeah.
Okay, there you are. So the big thing is now, Mick, that our salespeople have now got this dual pressure, right? They've got this additional cost on top of them, and on top of that, they've got this expectation because we've given you more time. They've gone to the bid boards. They're busy doing the roulette system, and at the end of the day, we're getting a pipeline. We're getting this massive pipeline. Over time, this pipeline starts building. I mean, you can measure it. It's 10, 20 million. Then, and everybody starts looking at this pipeline and saying, oh, you know what? This plan's working. Right. Geez, management saved the day. Yeah, boy, this is fantastic. Look at the opportunity. Is that the word, the great word, the big opportunity? And an opportunity gives us, we've got lots of opportunities, and we know that, we're going to get our share, aren't we? Because that's what's happened traditionally. We got our share.
Yeah, we're going to get 1 in 3. We're going to get 1 in 4, something like that. That's how it works.
Yeah, we got to get our share. All right. So, okay. So, and that gives us a degree of, and I want to use the word comfort, and that comfort ultimately gives us a little bit of complacency. And somewhere down the line, hey, Mick, somewhere down the line, and I'm talking 3 months, 6 months down the line, what do we notice is happening to our business?
Yeah.
Hey, guys, you all know it. Our conversion rates start declining. Now, so conversion rates is essentially, what many people think conversion rates is a leading indicator. No, wrong. Conversion rates aren't a leading indicator. Conversion rates is actually a lagging indicator. And I promise you, what is your leading indicator is your known rate. If, in other words, the amount of work that has either been successful or not successful, that is your leading indicator. When your known rate starts declining, you already know there's a problem in the system. All right. So anyway, by the time we understand that our conversion rates are declining, right?
Right. And the other thing about that busy. I'm thinking, we're working with, one sales guy, he's lovely guy, been in the business a long time, and his pipeline, he tracks things for, I swear to God, 1,000 days, and he won't take anything out of that pipeline. It's so big and vast that he thinks it's the best thing since sliced bread, but there's nothing coming out the end. So.
No, I mean, that's just that pipeline, man. Hey, listen, this is now, 720 days old. Do you think there's still some chance here? Well, no, I won't take it off here.
So often we'll get this. Oh, well, COVID delayed things by about a year. So something that was, 6 to 9 months old is really then it's 18 months. It's still relevant. No, you got to go and clean that pipeline out. But anyway, we've got this fat pipeline, but the conversion rate is now sunk to an all-time low. And like any great owner, management team, they're not dummies. They're going to step in. And what's the obvious answer here, Andre?
I love that diagram. Isn't that so cool? I mean, that was beautifully done, Mick. Really, I love the way that you think. I mean, now that's a slide to put on your wall. Really, So management says, "Hey, you know what? We're going to do something about this." And I know people are going to say, what a friggin' cynic this guy is, which most probably is right. So, and I'm saying management's got no idea what to do about it, but they're going to do something about it. They're going to save the day, aren't they? So what do they do about it? They go to the salespeople and say, "Hey, you guys are going to convert. You've got to increase your conversion rates, don't you?"
No, Andre. It's more elaborate than that. We've got to have a sales meeting. Right, we're going to get the salespeople together for a whole day, and we're going to get them together and have some camaraderie. But at the end of the day, they just say, "You got to increase your conversion rates." Thanks, guys.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, that's what happens, because really nobody has the real solution here. They, they know what they want,
and we're not trying to be facetious here, but this is the symptom, and so it's very difficult to address a symptom, and so that in absence of understanding the real problem, let's go increase our conversion rates. That's a good step, but the natural response without any strategy around it, Andre, is what?
Well, so the salespeople, what do you think they're going to do on the next bid to increase their conversion rate? I mean, that's what management told them to do.
Yeah, they've been kicked up the behind. They're feeling bruised, and by the way, they're getting less for each sale because we gave them all these resources, and so we put a load factor on their commissions, so they're getting less commissions, and now they're thinking, I can't afford to lose any for my own, well-being, and also the business imperative is maybe I'm going to go a little bit lower on this bid.
Right. My confidence is not as great as what I thought it was. What they're not realizing is their conversion rate's exactly the same. If they go and look at their true pipeline, with their standard customer base, their conversion rate has not changed. That's the thing that nobody realized. But because they now, because we've implemented this bidding frenzy, we've freed up resources, we've done all these things. We believe that the conversion rates changed. Okay, and you with me?
I went too quick there. I was putting the next slide up by mistake.
Okay, all right.
I didn't want to do the big reveal yet.
Geez, to get good help around here is bloody hard. I can tell you that right now. But anyway, so yeah, Mick. So now we've got a situation where we progressively with each bid we're lowering our prices because that's the only way we know how to win, right? As much as everybody's sitting there and saying, create the relationship, we're not really doing that. Yes, there's always there's pockets of excellence that do it very well, but in the main, that's not really happening. So now we're reducing the actual margin or the actual value of our bid, right? But here's the biggest problem that happens, Meg, is we do that indiscriminately. What's the word? Indiscriminately.
Indiscriminately, yeah. That was good. Yeah.
So there you are. I've actually got it right. I've got something right. Okay. So we do that indiscriminately. So we land up reducing the prices on our existing customers and the new ones. Because, we could, when confidence is confidence, it doesn't, it doesn't distinguish between an existing customer and a new customer. It's just called confidence. So right. Because, we're trying to do that, and we really land up reducing the margin on our total portfolio that should never have happened in the first place.
Right.
Okay. So now what happens? Okay. Now 6 months or I don't know, 12 months, 8 months, but a period of time from there, without us really realizing what happens is our backlog gets filled with what?
Rubbish.
Lower margin work.
Yeah.
Isn't that right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we start winning. We start winning. We start winning. Backlog gets built up, and it gets built up with lower margin work, just gradually, very gradually.
And if you think back to our favorite adage, which is revenue is vanity, profit is sanity, and cash is king, this tactic of bidding more and getting a bigger pipeline can lead to, you can see your revenue numbers going up. But what's the problem is that we've increased our costs, right? Because we've given the salespeople more resources, and we've lowered the margins on our jobs in order to get our conversion rate up. So the net is revenue vanity is good. Sanity is a little unhappy because our margins have gone down. And when we've got all of that work out there, we know cash is king. One of your favorite topics, Andre, working capital requirement. It's big.
Yeah. And we have a technical term there. It sucks. And it sucks cash, baby. The more we sell, and if we're selling at lower margin, the one thing is you're going to have more receivables, more underbillings, more sometimes inventories, more all of this stuff. And
the other factor, Andre, we haven't talked about is risk, right? Because what happens is when we go and bid in the frenzy, we go and fish in other people's ponds.
And sometimes ponds we don't understand.
We don't understand it, so we take more risk, and we didn't realize some of the specific requirements, the environmental, the safety. We didn't account for that in our bid. That hits us on the job, and it gets into lower margins, bad debt issues. Oh, it's a problem.
It really it is, and many people have experienced that sort of life cycle. And how many times have we heard, I've increased revenue, but what? I haven't made more money.
Right.
And you know what? As far as my bank account's concerned, it's an abysmal failure. And so, and at the end of the day, I mean, that's what we want. We want the right revenue that delivers the right profitability and is really cash flow friendly. That's, we get those three things right. We got a great business, don't we? You know what I mean? And yet, we continuously have this capability of screwing up three things, either in a synchronized way or in some kind of dysfunctional ways. But so at the end of the day, okay, where are we going here?
We're going to the ultimate problem, the real problem. So we started off with this symptomatic, are our salespeople really selling? Where are they spending their time? Can we free up their time? We treated that with some tactical symptomatic relief. But ultimately, the underlying cause is we're building this backlog, which is insidious, right? It stays with us for a long time. If we make a mistake with our backlog, it takes us a long time to flush that out and to reposition it and to make it healthy again.
Right. And make, at this point, at the end of the day, the goal, if you think about the goal, what was the goal? The goal was to have a healthy backlog that delivers what? Predictable revenue. Right. Yeah. And predictable is not just in total. It's that there is some degree of evenness to the revenue over time, so that we are consistently using our resources. I mean, how many times do we know during the summer it's chaotic, right? And then comes winter, everybody's sitting on a damn bucket. So now, how do we deal with, all the bucket sitting problem? So during the summer we have this mayhem, and then winter, we can't find enough buckets.
Right.
So, that's a little bit symptomatic of a bad backlog. And the goal is to have a good backlog, right? So what we've done is this whole strategy is actually ultimately delivered something that is completely foreign to the goal. And so now we've got the real problem. The real problem is we haven't designed what we are wanting in terms of the goal. It's just completely missed.
Right.
So if we think about this, there's got to be a slightly better way. Okay, so Mick, this is your, I quite like this. I like this slide, Mick, because you know why I like this? Because, there's a whole bunch of chickens, there's a couple of eggs, there's a bloke with a whole lot of money, and it just looks great. So
we did prepare for this meeting. We do have our show notes, and this was my articulation of Andre's genius. So, we started with, in today's environment, you've probably got, as we've talked about, most of your business comes from existing accounts. So the pipeline of existing accounts feeds the salespeople who then, tend to those accounts that delivers, our business. And we need more business, but without some kind of strategy, right? Those salespeople, if you just free up their time, they don't know how to prospect. In fact, they don't really like to prospect. They like to sell, but they don't like to pick up the phone and call somebody. What's the easiest thing to do is, I'll go on the bid board. We've just shown you that mechanism in isolation is going to create the biggest problem that you can have, which is that poor backlog. So we have to recognize that salespeople, don't feel very good about prospecting. But you said something this morning in pre-show, Andre, right? Somebody made it rain in the past.
Yeah, where did those existing customers come from? It came from somebody, no doubt about it.
Right. And so, and often it might have been the owner or one of your two primary, stakeholders. And what we've seen in this kind of business is that delivery. If you delivered well, you built good relationships, you're the trusted provider of flooring for whatever environment, those relationships last decades. And so sometimes it's decades before you need to think about going to get more work. And you've moved out of the rainmaker role. You're running a business now. You don't have time to go make sales calls, and you're hoping that your salespeople will do that. Well, they don't really like to do that. So today, one thing that you can do is to dust off your rainmaker hat a little bit, and you got to go and give some eggs. You got to go find some eggs to give to the salespeople, right?
And we've got to, Mick. Here's the interesting part about that is that there's another belief system that an account is my account. I have the relationship. I'm the salesman. I have that relationship. And yet, if you look at some of the history of many of our commercial floor dealers, they've had the same account and multiple salespeople over the 20 years. Same account. So, right. And then they believe that an account isn't easily transferable from one person to the next because it's relationship driven. You can't, that's the guy that's got the relationship. Yet, if that salesperson leaves, that relationship often stays. And, it's built, it's just because they believe that they're going to get the same experience. The salesperson, augments that, but they're going to get the same experience. Now, if we think that way and we do dust off of the rainmaker, can that rainmaker ultimately transfer a new relationship to an existing salesperson? And the answer's got to be yes.
It is, yeah.
It's got to be yes.
We've seen it.
It has to be yes.
Yeah.
And therefore, what we should be thinking about, Mick, is instead of releasing the time of salespeople, Leave the salespeople, they're doing what they do. What do we need to do? We need to create the time for the rainmaker. That is part of the secret. And Mick, this is the one thing that I love about your course. And I must say, and I know what you damn cynics are going to say is, you know what, now you get a bloody promoting mixed course. But I tell you what, it's a damn good course, and even I've got to say it on Mick's behalf. But, Mick was really the creator of this. He spent maybe 2 years developing this, and I know he's slow. Okay, I get it. I know he's slow.
Andre only has like the patience of about 1 month. So
right. So I said, after the first week, Mick, where's the friggin' course? And he says, well, I'm working on it. And then 2 years later, he's still working on it. But I must say, he was being, and it's a great course. The course is really designed around end users. Okay, so I get it. But philosophically, the way that the course is driven is around helping the ability for us to create this environment that addresses the ultimate problem, not the symptom. And that's what I love it. And I think, we've stress tested this with many salespeople now and with management, and it's created I think some fairly good outcomes.
Yeah, and over time, we want this migration to tomorrow, which is, we do want, and we do advocate that your key players, your rainmakers, do parlay their talents, even if they've got into a management role or even if they're the owner. You do need to be able to utilize that skill. But what we want to do is we want to migrate a little bit more to the tomorrow model, which is, yes, we recognize that our existing nuggets, our accounts, they lay golden eggs, and our salespeople will continue to farm those accounts in the way that they do it today. But we also want the salespeople to do a little bit of new business acquisition. That 80-20. Happy for 80% of their work to be farming, but 20% ought to be new business, and giving them a pathway to get new business is important. So they don't really like to pick up the phone and cold call, but if you give them a warm conversation or a warm relationship, they're really, really good at converting that into a great job. So what we do in the course is to allow the sales people to get warm conversations and not be, cold calling. And then they're very, very good at shepherding that. So that's what the whole.
It's not really a course; it's a program. But I must.
We got a comment from Brian Williams.
Hey Brian! Whoa, we got some. Oh, look at that!
Yeah. Relationship can be transferred as long as execution remains at a high level. We agree. The execution is what the client expects to be consistent operations and field management. It's crucial to making it work during the transfer. Absolutely, Brian.
And, that is perfect, Brian. Perfect.
And Brian kind of sits a little bit in the bridge between sales and operations too. So he has a really, really good perspective on that capability and interface. So thanks for that, Brian, and we'll see you soon.
And I must say, Mick, that the thing about this is that magic doesn't happen in a very short space of time. The issue is that to turn the ship is got to be more strategic than just trying to fix the problem immediately. And that's part of the issue is we try and fix things fast. And the reality is, specifically in this, it doesn't happen. The one way that I do believe that we can get a little bit of that rapidness happening is, and as everybody knows, we are big end user fans. I mean, and really, this program is about creating. First of all, when you know how to create a good end user base, you are already so well equipped to sell to anybody and anything. Isn't that right, Hamik? You can talk to a GC, you can talk to whoever it is after that. The problem is that people don't want to get involved in that space because it's not as easy as going to a bid board.
Yeah, and so we need to make it easy, and we need to take away some of the obstacles and allow that flow to happen. If you can get good, warm conversations in front of your talent pool, you can really grow high quality, high profit business. So over the course of a few more shows, we'll be talking about how do you strategically think the role of sales and business development in your organization so that you can get that predictable revenue growth and good backlog management. But some seeds for you today around, we love salespeople. We think they're highly talented. There are strategic ways that you can tap into their craft and their potential and really allow them to perform at a much higher level. So well, Andre, we're getting to the end of our
we're done. Al, can you imagine people can actually leave early?
Yeah.
They shut up for a second.
Yeah, I thought we were a little bit more succinct on that one. And if you go to,
you call us succinct. I mean, that is the last thing we are. It's like that ain't gonna happen. Never.
So if you go to our blog, flooringbythenumbers.com, and you just click on blog, this week's blog, we talk about the chicken and egg situation. So there's for those of you who like to read stuff, there's something in there, and you'll be able to find ways. I've got to put it up on the website to get to our course if you're interested in that, but we'll talk a little bit more about that. So that's it from us this week. Once again, any questions, comments, please email us or comment to us on LinkedIn, and we look forward to seeing you next week.
Hey, bye-bye, everybody. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.